Hi, today I'm going to review some of the major steps of cellular respiration. Now, cellular respiration occurs in plants, in animals, in fungus, and protists, and it happens in bacteria, but not in exactly the same way. For our purposes, we're talking about eukaryotic organisms that have the organelle a mitochondria. And there's an overall equation for cellular respiration that might look a little familiar to you. Here we've got glucose, C6H12O6, oxygen, and then we have, those are the reactants, and then we have an arrow here, which means these are the products, and we have water, H2O, carbon dioxide, CO2, and this cellular energy, ATP. It probably looks familiar to you because it's kind of the opposite of photosynthesis. Okay, so here we have food in the presence of oxygen that is used to create water, which is kind of a waste, carbon dioxide, a waste, for the purpose of creating cellular energy to do pretty much everything. Any kind of work an organism has to do, any kind of movement, is fueled by ATP. So, just like we did for our study of photosynthesis, I want to review kind of some basic parts of the mitochondria. So, the mitochondria actually has an outer membrane and an inner membrane. And then inside here, this space is called the matrix. I know it sounds super fancy. So you want to familiarize yourself with this kind of anatomy, if you will, of a mitochondria. And then moving forward, there are 3 steps in the process of aerobic cellular respiration. We have glycolysis, the Krebs cycle, and the ETC, also known as the electron transport chain. It's important to note that glycolysis, the first step, occurs in the cytoplasm. The Krebs cycle happens inside the mitochondria as well as the electron transport chain, and they happen in very specific places within the mitochondria. So the Krebs cycle happens in the matrix, and the electron transport chain happens in this inner membrane. In terms of our pictures to represent these processes, we have glycolysis happening in the cytoplasm. Sugar or glucose is broken in half to form pyruvate, also known as pyruvic acid. They're the same thing. So you might see some resources using pyruvic acid, saying pyruvic acid, other resources using pyruvate. And then from there, there's a little bit of ATP made. And that's going to add to our total at the end here, but we'll get there. The Krebs cycle is going to happen in this yellow area. That's the matrix. And again, this is our mitochondria. The carbon dioxide is released, and then a little bit of ATP is made, and then these 2 molecules here, NADH and FADH2, are created in the Krebs cycle, and they are energy storing molecules. They're going to provide the fuel in the presence of oxygen to create lots and lots of ATP. As a byproduct, as a waste, water is released or, kind of discarded during the electron transport chain. And again, the electron transport chain is happening in that inner membrane. Okay, I'm just going to highlight that here so you guys can see. When we're talking about that inner membrane, we're talking about that space there. All right. And hopefully you're following along with the note sheet that I provided. That'd be awesome. So at the end of all this, we've got about approximately 36 to 38 ATP total. The most amount of ATP coming from our electron transport chain. Here's just another little picture here. We've got glycolysis, which you're going to see this word anaerobic. Anaerobic means no oxygen is required. And even if there's glucose, but no oxygen, a little bit of ATP can still be made without a mitochondria, but it's really the mitochondria that makes the largest amount of ATP, and that's during the electron transport chain. So after glycolysis, that's step one. Step two is the Krebs cycle that happens in the matrix of our mitochondria. We get a little ATP made, our CO2 is released, and then these energy carrying or storing molecules, NADH and FADH2, go on to the electron transport chain. Oxygen is taken in at this point through the electron transport chain. Lots of ATP is able to be created, and water is discarded as a waste. And that is an overview of the 3 steps to aerobic cellular respiration. Thanks.